Good morning, everybody. This is your boy Pitts from Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV Sports, Comcast Channel 77, Verizon Channel 11. Also, your co-host and co-owner of Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio. Again, here with our weekly chats. We started on Tuesday. We said every Tuesday, every Thursday, every Saturday. Me and Coach Bernard Clark Jr. And here we are again, Coach. Good morning. How are you doing today?
Doing well, Pitch. How's everything going with you?
I can't complain. It's a full schedule today. So I do want to apologize to our viewers and listeners. If you hear a band in the background, it's because I'm at an event today. So I'm tucked away in the back for a ribbon cutting. So I do apologize if there are any distractions or interruptions.
For a ribbon cutting, you cutting the ribbon today, Pitch?
I wish I was that big time. Not yet. Not yet.
I
I'm
got you.
I'm
I
on my
got you.
way.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
So, Coach, one thing I wanted to bring up, I forgot to mention as we did the intro interview last week, was that you were also inducted into the Hall of Fame. Was Orange Bowl?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, you didn't forget to
Can
mention. We kind of glossed over it, which is no big deal. I mean, I'm extremely humbled and excited about it when it happened. It happened in 2022. I was inducted into the Orange Bowl Hall of Fame because of the performance I had back in 1988, which seems like eons ago. 1988, when you think about it. Pitch, I don't even know if you were born then. So it's a situation.
I was. I was
Okay,
7.
good deal. So it's one of those situations where it happened. It was exciting, especially in the dismal year we had last year. For something that exciting to come out of it was really pleasurable for me.
Okay, and we transitioned to this week. I know we spoke also about you having a word of the week. Can you share that with our viewers and listeners?
Absolutely. Each week, what we do as a team here at Robert Morris University, I go through and I figure out what's the best thing our guys and what's a good message our guys can receive. And I usually give them a word of the week. This week, what I thought about when you think about practice, you think about guys going on the field and things getting redundant and doing things over and over, but you don't want them thinking that way. Practice is more habitual. It's a habit. It becomes a habit, and guys start feeling that way, so they start losing track of what's actually going on in practice. I always tell guys when you go to practice, there are three things that you should always do when you hit the field. First thing is listen to your coach. The second thing is let's get better at something every day. As a
Right.
linebacker, I'd go into practice. I got better at my reads. I got better at my steps. I got better at my hand movements or whatever the situation. To get better at something, and the most important thing is go full speed. So when you go to practice, let's find something that we can expand on, expand on. We're in motion. So when you think of practice, you think of something habitual. So the word of the week this week was train, because when you think about training, you're getting ready for something. Navy SEALs train, Army Rangers train, Black Special Ops train. So you think about those things. So the word of the week is train, and when you think about training, you think about discipline and you think about instruction. So I want our guys to understand when they're stepping on the field, we're trying to make them more disciplined and they're trying to follow instructions in order for us to be a better team. So train was the word of the week.
And with that being said, and before we transition to this week's opponent, you spoke about last week. How does that? How does the word of the week? Does it go into play, or does it have any type of resemblance to last week? Do you come up? Do the words? Are they contributed to what has happened or hasn't, or just something that you're feeling?
Just something that I'm feeling more than anything else. Like last week, the words was disrupted. You wanted to go into that game because everyone had a narrative of us based on last year. So going into the game last week, I wanted the guys, we need to be disruptive and be on our P's and Q's and make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do. Our first game was commitment. Make sure we're committed to this game and make sure we know what's going on. And our word of the week when we hit camp was actually the word was uncomfortable because we wanted to go into camp. We didn't want to feel comfortable what happened last year. And I always tell people this, and I didn't know this. Maybe you knew this little small fact, Rich. A lobster is actually born as a gel. It develops a shell over time. And when it becomes uncomfortable, it goes under a rock, shakes that shell off, and builds another shell. So in order for you to change, you have to be uncomfortable. So when we're going into camp, the word was uncomfortable because our guys understood. I wanted to make our guys understand you have to change. We can't continue down the path we went down. We got to make sure we're changing. So the word was uncomfortable, because once you become uncomfortable, you have to change.
Well, if I can, being uncomfortable also challenges you to keep striving, never settle. Because once we become comfortable, or we can say complacent, then there really is no more room to grow because we feel that we've already reached the pinnacle to where it is or whatever we're trying to achieve. So being uncomfortable gives an edge of understanding that I have not yet arrived to the destination of where I have yet, where I have destined myself to be. So, but then uncomfortable also can transition to commitment, right?
Absolutely.
Because when you become uncomfortable, you're no longer complacent, right? So then you're teachable, you're trainable, and your practice methods are different, which then becomes a commitment. So they
Absolutely.
all can, is even though that was the beginning of camp, and then last week was commitment. Um, I think that that plays a part because from a child's perspective, when you're raising a child, you want them to be uncomfortable, right? And you want them to be committed. And those are the focal points that we want to get to. But the training and the practice plays a part to shape and mold everything in regards to the commitment or being uncomfortable. So those are three great, you know, follow ups to each other in regards
Absolutely.
to the preparation of what you're trying to achieve.
I appreciate the way you did that, putting it all together. Because, like I said, I just look at it. I look at the word, and that's the word of the week. But the way you put it together, that's why we work well together, Pitts. Things work out good with
Yeah, they absolutely do, man. And in that training and in that practice, um, how have you been able to acclimate those to your weekly, whether it's the weekly meetings with the coaches? Does that training and the practice, does that go to the coaches or just the players?
No, it goes to the entire team. The entire team understands that. And so it's a translation with the coaches, because they got to know now that they're training these guys to get better for the next game. It's not just about practice, not just about going in and coming into a routine. It's about making sure our guys understand that routine and doing it with discipline and doing it by instruction. So that's why training was so important to me this week.
And how do the players buy in, or what is the reaction each week to the different mottos or to the different word of the weeks?
What a great thing about they do, they're going to take notes in meetings. So they're in there and they're writing it down. So they're the focal point of what's going on. They understand when they take the field, okay, coach, this week it's about training. So they do that. And I always try to give a good quote. And the great quote I gave this week is like, at every next level of your life demands a new version of yourself. I got that from Ike Johnson. Every next level of your life demands a new version of yourself. And so that's when training comes into play.
So that's when training. My apologies, coach. We broke
Yeah,
up.
no problem. But that's when training comes into play, because once you understand you're at the next level in your life, because if you weren't a starter and now you're a starter, well, that's the next level of your life and next level of you playing. So now it demands a new version of yourself. It demands that you study your playbook. It demands that you pay attention to meetings. It demands that you work harder in practice. And like the different phases of my life, when I went from college to the pros, I went from high school to college. Each new level of my life demanded a new version of myself. And so that's what I try to tell those guys. So that new version is going on through training.
And I'm going to stay on task, but something else just
Absolutely.
came to my mind. One of the things that you speak highly of, and that when it's a part of you, you don't have to teach that.
Absolutely.
And for you, strengthening, mentoring young men is one of those things. And even though those are the themes or the words of the weeks, whether it's uncomfortable, commitment, training, and practice, those things also translate to off the field. So, it's a habit that we learn, and it goes back to your quote: football doesn't build character; it reveals character.
Absolutely.
And those three words of your weeks as well does as well, because it creates a mindset of I can't get comfortable. When I get comfortable, I get complacent. Commitment is more than me just saying I'm gonna do it. Commitment is me doing it when I don't feel like it. Commitment is me doing it when it looks like it's all for nothing. Training and practice is to better ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And it's a constant thing that is constantly evolving.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's constantly going from not just football field, but also in life, which always goes back to my mission statement of creating environment on and off the field to continue what families have done and help these guys become better men, better husbands, and better fathers. It's always going to relate to those things because the most important thing is these guys leaving here better than when they came. And those are things important. Again, some of them are going to like it, some of them are going to dislike it, but I'm hoping somewhere down the line, 5, 10, 15 years from now, they understand it and what we're trying to do here.
So we transition to this week. If you can give our viewers and listeners what this week. This week I think is Red Out,
Yeah.
Red Nation.
Yeah,
Can
red out. So everybody's gonna wear red to the game, and also today is a day of giving. So if you're willing to come and donate, go on to our link, our website, and link on the football. Donate 5, 10, 15, 20 bucks, whatever you can do, because it's a day of giving for our guys. But it's red out, but it's also our homecoming. So everybody's excited, a little air in the little buzz in the air about everything going on. So we're excited about what's going to happen. We got a team coming in here, team that hadn't won a game yet, but they're a tough team. They play hard. They do a lot of good things, got some good skill positions. So we expect a great game and expect a great atmosphere.
How are your seniors feeling going into their last homecoming?
I think they're feeling great. And I guess the thing about most of our seniors is, especially on the offensive side of the ball, there hasn't been a buzz about offense like this in a long time because they haven't been able to put up the points that we've been putting up lately. So they feel good about it. And, some guys got 6 years. Some guys in their 6th year of football, because of the COVID. So they're real excited about it because of the fact that when they're done here, they may not be playing football after this. So I always tell guys, play for now. Make sure you're playing for now. Make sure you're training for now, putting yourself in a position to be successful after this thing is done. But have fun. I mean, this is a game. People get so caught up in all the things that go on with football, they forget that this is a game. Let's have fun and let's have a good time.
How has practice been this week coming off of the loss from Youngstown last week? Have you
It's
noticed?
actually been pretty daggum enthusiastic. The guys enthusiastic. The guys are doing a great job of focusing. Again, it goes back to that word where our coaches are making sure the discipline's there and make sure the instruction's there. Because the thing I always feel that's important is you got to let a young man know why he's doing something. Why is he doing this? Why are we doing that? This is why you have to run the route at this angle in order to create this angle. This is why you have to fill this gap in order for this gap to be filled on the other side. So all those things have been instructed, and all those things take discipline to succeed at them. And the guys have done a great week this week of preparation.
Have you noticed if any of your guys taken extra time, and or have anyone come to you in regards to extra time in study, or just more guidance and maybe something else that they're not seeing to transition on the field?
They don't come to me personally, but they do go to our coaches. There's no doubt about it. Our coaches are constantly in meetings here and there with their positions. A guy come in, one guy may come and say, "Hey, coach, I'm not understanding this. Can you sit and talk to me?" So those things are always happening throughout the day. So that's the great thing about it. Guys that don't understand it, they come in to understand it. There's no doubt about
What is what are your what are the key factors that you have for your team going into this week besides the
it. Well,
training and practice?
one of the biggest thing is last week that hurt us. We had a ton of penalties. We had 10 penalties last week, and 7 of those penalties were on offense at crucial times. We get a first down and get a holding call, get called back. We get a first down, delay a game or offsides. Now we're 1st and 15. Our running game has to get going. Got a little going last week, but we need to get it better going this week. We missed 30 tackles last week against Youngstown. So we're working on tackling to make sure we don't have that same mistake this week. So those 3 things are component. When you talk about a rushing game, when you talk about penalties, when you talk about tackling, those are 3 things we really need to work on and get going on. So those are some of the things we really concentrate on this week so they don't happen again. So we won't have the same outcome that we had last week.
And that's what I was going to ask you when you said, to concentrate on. Is there more lack of focus or the environment?
You mean as far as
As far as
practice
the
or as far as the
offensive,
game last week?
the offensive penalties, the offsides, is that more just angsty to get out there, or just the environment, meaning the crowd? Because I believe you guys were
No, in this case, and again, we go back to the word train. To me, it was more lack of focus. And now you got to make sure you're being instructed well and having the discipline in order to make those things happen. So no, it was more the penalties we had was more lack of focus as opposed to they were as far as anything else.
What are your thoughts towards the new rule changes when it comes to certain hits in the game? I believe
And, well, you're talking about a guy who played at the University of Miami. You're talking about a guy that played defense. So when it comes to the hit rule, uh, I got mixed emotions when it comes to the hit rule, and I say and the biggest reason for that, I'm all for making the game safer. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You don't want to see young men get hurt. I'm all for making the game safe. But some of the hits are just hits. They're just that. They're hard football hits. It's like you and I spoke last week. As safe as you try to make it, this is going to be organized violence. This is
yes,
what football is all about. Saturday is when assault and battery becomes legal. That's what it boils down to. So as a defensive guy, you like to see some of the hits be okay, but as an advocate for the safety of the game, there's some things that need to be taken out of the game. No guy should ever make a tackle with his head down. If a young man is going in for a tackle and he's looking at the ground, he's wrong. There's
you
no
can't
ifs, ands, or
really hit
buts
him.
about it. He's looking at the ground. One, you may miss the tackle. Two, you may hurt yourself, or you may hurt someone else. So the techniques in which things need to be done need to be taught a little better. But at the same time, you have to make the game safer because the game's evolving. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But again, I'm all for hard hitting. You got to make sure we understand. I am all for hard hitting.
I am too. As a recipient of being hit and giving out the hits, I have an issue with certain rules because I think it has made the game easier for offenses. Now you have players who then second guess, when a receiver's coming across the middle, which then can also put themselves in harm's way
Yes,
because you don't have the intention to hurt them, but
right.
you want to dislodge the ball or you want to do whatever you can to make sure that they do not get where they need to be. And part of that is more instinct and impact. And with them being bang bang plays, I think it has watered down the game, in my opinion, because when when you have a first and 25, 2 minute a minute 32 left, and I'm sorry, third and 25, and you have a receiver go across the route across the middle on the slant, and it's a bang bang. Linebackers go to dislodge the ball. They call a personal foul, 15 yards, automatic first down. I think it takes away from the game because you take away the momentum of the defense. You then give momentum to offense, but then also that player is subjected to if he has another light hit, then he can be kicked out the game, and not only for the rest of that game, but half of the next game.
It
So
does. I mean, it does slightly take away from the game, but like I said, there's still a bunch of hard hits going on. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like I said, you can't take that away from the game. It's still organized violence, still a bunch of hard hits. But I've always said this, if it's something that hinders a situation and defense is doing it, they're probably going to make an adjustment to it. But if it hinders the offense, they're going to change the rule. That's what it boils down to because you know and I know offenses put butts in seats. And that's what it boils down to. Tom Brady played as long as he played because he's an unbelievable football player, but he also played as long as he played because he wasn't allowed to get hit like Terry Bradshaw. So and that's what it boils down to. But you're talking about a great player who can't get hit. And like you said, it takes away from a little bit, but at the same time, it's still a great game. It's still a great game to watch. It's still a great game to play, and it still does what it always does. It brings people together.
with you being in the great city of Pittsburgh, um, in Western PA, I had to throw that in
Go
there,
ahead and
right?
rep your city. Go ahead and rep your city, Pitch. I
I
get
had to
it.
rep. I had to rep my city. With you being in a great city of Western PA, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, um, high school football is kind of like I mean, it's big there. Everybody's going to the games. The games are just as packed as anything else. Are you looking at these games? Do you pay attention to anything that's going on, even though you're coaching your team and going through them? Like, do you look at that for recruiting, or how does that play a role in your position as a coach? I mean, because I know you have assistant coaches or position coaches that handles the day to days with the players. Does that allow you time to, not saying that you're looking ahead, but more so just seeing what's out there, in the meantime. So when the season comes, that you have an idea of, okay, I already know I seen what this player can do, or I didn't see enough of this player. Does that play? Is that also a function of your job as a head coach, or do you
Well,
do you
in
think?
our game, you're recruiting 24/7, so you're always recruiting. So our coach, Coach Tyler, Delbert Tyler, who's also from the great city of Pittsburgh, uh, Coach Tyler, he's on top of those things. So there's a young man in the area that we feel like we have an opportunity with. We feel like we can get him to come play with Rob Morris University. We're going to have him in on a recruiting visit. We have recruits in each Saturday for our games. I think we had about 80 here last week. So we're constantly having, even last year when we had such a horrible year, we still had anywhere from 70 to 80 recruits per game, so we want to make sure that. So, no, we're on top of that. If there's a guy in the area who's an outstanding player, I'm going to know who he is. I'm going to watch him on tape, and we're going to know if we have a legitimate opportunity to get him or not a legitimate opportunity to get him. Because I'm a very realistic person, too. If you got Pitt, Penn State, Ohio State, and West Virginia looking at a young man, it'll be kind of hard to get him to come to Robert Morris University just because of the guys he has looking at him. But at the same time, we realize at that point, if those guys are looking at, we are on the right player. We're on the right guy because of those guys
Uh, we got a comment in the chat. It
are looking. Okay.
says, "It's me, Eric McGuire." Oh, oh wow.
McAllister.
No,
Eric McAllister?
Eric McGuire. So he's a defensive back, wide
Okay.
receiver for Stowe Rocks.
Okay, I got you. Okay. Oh, Eric. Okay, I got you. Good deal, man. That sounds good. Sounds good. Keep doing your thing, Eric. Keep doing your thing.
Um, I think that the job that you do overtime gets overlooked because of record purposes. I think at the end of the day, a lot of people look at the end result and at
Mm-hmm.
everything that goes into it. And the end result doesn't always reflect the amount of passion and effort and commitment that you put into it. And for you, I would say that goes into Fulbright because despite last year's record, you never wavered, your team never wavered. So you guys, regardless of what the situation appeared to be, you remained uncomfortable, and even in those games to the last game last year, your team fought like it was the playoffs, and y'all were going into the playoffs. So that's commendable because it shows a leadership that you are spewing down to your other players and to your coaches as well. As as the season goes on, what what are you most looking forward to, maturation wise, from your guys, not just on the field but off the field as well?
Continue to grow. I mean, like you said, when you talk about train, that's what I want to do. I want to continue to grow as, better men, better husbands, and better fathers. The expectations are never going to change. That's the great thing about our mantra, our push and pull mantra. The expectations are never going to change. We're going to constantly push them and constantly pull them in the right direction, make sure those things are where they need to be at. So that's what we're going to do, Pitch. We're going to continue to push them. We're going to continue to pull them. And the expectations are never going to change when it comes to these guys becoming better men, better husbands, better fathers.
So this week we got homecoming. It's a red out. And so anyone that's in the Pittsburgh area need a homecoming. Robert Morris is going down. Throw that red on. I mean, I'm sure I got it. There's a lot of teams in red in that area. So I got it in the closet. But listen, um, this Saturday we'll have our follow-up meeting, and on Saturdays it's execution Saturdays, and we'll basically give you guys an in-depth look at Coach Clark Jr.'s mindset going into a game. This week is preparation. It's all about preparing for this week, and it's all about putting the right plays and study and etc. Where Saturday is everything we've done throughout the week, all the practice, the training, the words of the weeks. It goes into play on that day. So we thank everyone for tuning in. We thank Coach Clark Jr. We thank everybody who's watched us live. We thank those who are going to watch it, the recording. But every Tuesday, every Thursday, every Saturday, 9:30 a.m. here on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, myself, Coach Clark Jr., 9:30 a.m. This is your boy Pitts on Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV Sports, Pitts and Push Sports Talk Radio. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Coach Clark.